And we're live to another Lethal Introspection Crew original exclusive.
Welcome back.
This time we're going deep into space at my behest. We've never, between my wife and I, who is the guest of this podcast, say hi.
Hi.
Welcome.
Ooh, welcome, Kimmy.
Yeah, apparently there's like very large rocks around where you guys live that you've been sleeping under for the past 40 years.
I promise I won't fall asleep in the middle of this one like I did during the Mario.
We appreciate that. That is why Kimmy
one-
has not been invited back.
Yeah, I mean, I'm actually, truly, I just ask what they're watching and then make a decision if it's me or Lil or if I'm going to show up. And I wanted to show up.
Yeah, wonderful. And for good reason, too, because after having watched the movie, having never seen it before, I gotta say, I understand the hype.
Right.
100% understand the hype. I would like to begin by asking you two what your history is with this movie in terms of your the inception of when you watched it and how many. What's the number for this one? Starting with you, Matt.
Oh, okay. Well, let me think. I probably watched this when I was like 13 or 14. Somewhere around there, the very first time. And I think it was the first one I'd seen too, off a recommendation from my mom. If I'm remembering that right.
Okay.
And then after that, obviously, there's plenty more good stuff where that came from. But yeah, I think that's where it started for me.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I hadn't seen this until we started dating, and then Matt had me watch this like 6 or 7 years ago.
Did we go through all of them too? Did we do Aliens after, and then I think I skipped the garbage ones and went right to Prometheus?
Yeah, I think we watched like 2 and then Prometheus.
Okay, we
I
can
get
get
to
into
watch.
that.
My media exposure is completely dependent on what Matt thinks is good.
Yeah. That's. I mean, it really struck me, when I was, however old I was, like how. I don't know how great of a. I'm like you said, you understand why people have the hype. Like it for sure is maybe the best like sci-fi horror movie for its time. If you're placing things like that. But yeah.
Well, I do want to ask up front before you say that, though. Jose, where do you see the hype? What do you think makes you say that?
In the nuances, really, like the very first thing that came to mind, literally as things were beginning to light up, was the intricacy of and detail in both the outside of the ship and the interior aspects of it. Everything was just so. I mean, like just the like the weird patterning and everything. Like even though it seems highly unnecessary, like now thinking about how it's like retro futuristic. It still just adds a degree of just imagination, really. Kimmy,
There's something about
in terms of what you also being a fresh pair of eyes, what do you also think that you see the hype in the movie?
Yeah, I totally get it. I feel like, so I love sci-fi, and it's kind of funny that I've never watched this film.
the original
I know
sci-fi
until now,
horror.
and
Original.
I can see it because one thing that struck me in the beginning was even watching them go, without jumping too far into the film, like watching them, enter that lair with the eggs, thinking about what the production quality took to make that room, because it's not like some green boulders that they're walking on top of. Like in 1979, it is definitely a room that they crafted to make it look that way. And all of the spaceship rooms too. Like I think about that and I'm like, that is wonderful production quality for even, me laughing when I see teeny aliens and stuff like that. Like that's still great quality for 1979. Like I laugh now because it seems robotic to me and it seems comical because I've seen so many like iterations of this, movie or those scenes.
Especially the chest burster.
That seeing the original makes me laugh, but like in reality in 1979, like that must have been like, wow, like chef's kiss.
Yeah, I bet some people shit their pants.
for that tiny alien scene.
Hey, that was like revolution. Like that chest burst. Okay, little fun fact, little fun movie tidbit for you is nobody in the cast except for John Hurt knew that that's what was going to happen in the scene.
Oh, really?
As far as their scripts read, all they knew was that an event occurs.
Which one is John Hurt?
The War Doctor.
Bane.
No, I understand who the War Doctor is, but like I saw the War Doctor 30, 40 years later. So
Bane is the guy who.
oh
Yeah, the very first.
yeah,
the chest
oh
burster.
my god.
You didn't see it in his
So
eyes.
much
He's always
tragedy.
Had those like lazy,
So much
lazy looking.
not
The
lazy.
sad-
Oh my god, just tragic eyes.
It's because he's seen the whole Time War. I mean, you don't. Doesn't matter what iteration of life you're in. I mean,
He's forever sad.
he's forever scarred.
Time Lord or he's a human in 2037.
Mhm. Things are always just going bad for him.
So, okay, but and we get into it more. But as far as your backstory too, you said you'd seen Prometheus as well.
I have not seen Prometheus.
Oh, you
no.
haven't. Okay,
I saw Prometheus.
you saw Prometheus.
And I immediately realized, like, I think I always knew they were connected, but I definitely realized they were in the beginning, obviously, where you see them laying, like the person, whoever it is, laying in that chair that imploded from the inside that they were saying, because that is definitely in Prometheus.
So we'll have to watch that in the future. But yeah, so go ahead.
Having watched the movie, it cleared up a lot of presuppositions that I had about what the movie was actually about. Because at this point, right, it's been about 40 years since it came out. So I've digested the movie in piecemeals throughout my entire life.
How
It
could
isn't
you
as
not?
though I'm coming into Aliens 100% virgin eyes. You know, like I know what I'm looking for the most part. I know that the chest burster scene was coming. I knew that that the crawling, like the face coming down, you know what I mean, and it being behind and everything. Like all of those, just from having had TNT when I was a kid, you know what I mean? You see the commercials and like those are exactly the same scenes that they just keep popping up over and over. So there's already a little bit of cheating in terms of my exposure to it. But I was honestly highly shocked that the concept of there being a progenitor race, like an advanced progenitor species, and that's where the aliens came from. I did not realize that was straight up first movie lore. I thought that was a machination that was made long after the fact in order to just be able to keep adding on. Like, that's why one of the reasons why I never even bothered to watch Prometheus, even though I had, you know what I mean, like in my mind, respect for the Alien franchise and like, you know, like, oh yeah, it's like they're great movies, is that I thought that it was a ass pull in terms of like lore conception. Having never seen the first one, I didn't realize that you start off exactly knowing that like there's these other aliens that had aliens, you know, and we're already trying to like bio-create them in that way.
So yeah, I don't know how we're gonna go through this whole thing without actually talking about basically what happens in Prometheus.
No,
I
the
don't.
movie-
I honestly think that I think that we
You
can.
keep it encapsulated to this movie.
we
I
should.
think that we can because, guys, I barely remember Prometheus.
Oh, okay.
So the only things I remember in Prometheus are the parts that made me the most angry. So I really think we can.
Shit.
I think we can go
All
through
right,
this movie
we'll
in
stick
general.
to the guns. Yeah, okay.
How do you guys normally start these things? What do we do?
Oh,
It's just an introspection. It's just
Yeah.
things that just resonated for you in the movie. I mean, at the end of the day, we're not trying to give like a full pass through of the movie. We can only hope that people that are watching the podcast have also seen the movie and are reminiscing alongside us.
it is
and-
40 years old. So.
And if they haven't, you know, then I hope they're not averse to spoilers because we don't give a shit.
Yeah.
I really want to hear everyone's like rating out of 5. I guess I do out of 10s normally, but 5.
Well, we
is-
can. Well, here's a cool thing about this is one of the fun things that I personally like is that sometimes after listening to one of these reviews or talking through it with Jose and Hannah, I change my opinion on a movie that I've seen before that I already have an established opinion.
love it.
Yeah. So
So I guess if there is a structure, we do leave the reviews for like the numeric reviews for the very end, if there is going to be one, just because we're never really sure if somebody else's eye caught something that totally changes our perspective of what we might have assumed to be dumb. It's happened a lot, both negatively and positively.
Mhm.
So
So for the numeric ratings, Kimmy is gonna have to stay awake to the end.
yeah,
Gotcha.
a
Promise I will.
little
Promise.
little
I'll
treat
be
for
here.
you. Yeah.
A little treat for you.
Yeah. So I guess just starting off pros, because there wasn't that many cons in terms of the movie. I like the fact that even from the very beginning, it really poised itself to be a franchise.
Mm.
They let you know about the progenitor species, right? That already is quite the hook in terms of the past, of this whole conception.
Mhm.
Because I mean, the movie almost starts like in a meta in medias res, like
Mhm.
because they've already gone and done whatever phony mission that they were gonna go do, which is the mining thing, in order for them to begin their quote unquote real mission of the whole enterprise, in order to be able to go catch
Mhm.
or inadvertently bring an alien.
For me, I think it was like the craft. Just seeing the craft on the first picture, you're like, oh, that's not. And who was it? Ash says, I've never seen anything like this before. And you're like, oh shit. If the science expert dude doesn't know what the hell that is, and we're like operating in this universe where it's humans and asteroids, and that's as far as we know, like for sure, that's a fucking ugh. That's where it got me when I watched it, 13, 14.
Just to back us up 1 minute, did you say this movie didn't offer much in terms of cons?
Yeah, I don't think that there were that many cons in the movie.
We need a little celebratory thing. I've never heard
Yeah.
Jose say this.
shit.
Yeah, we need to also invest in a soundboard.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Mhm.
need a soundboard so we can throw little parties when things like this happen.
Yeah, I mean I'm sure that as we
It sounds like homework.
This is why Kimmy
Like,
is here today.
swiftly becoming the sound guy.
as we yeah, I don't know. I mean, as we talk about it, maybe there might be some cons, but it felt like the movie just really did a great job of insulating itself from like what I would have felt was irregularities.
Mm-hmm.
As someone who's watched a lot of films with Jose, like in reality, when he watches a film and says like I don't have a lot of cons, it made a good impression on him.
That's
Like,
the nicest thing we've ever
as-
heard him say.
Oh, really?
That's why she backed
Usually
up.
Jose
There's been a
rewrites
couple
the
movies
entire
that we
film.
watched together. I remember watching Contact with him for the first time, and he felt I felt like you had a very similar review of it. You're like I don't have a lot of cons, You're like it was generally a good film, And
Is that, yeah, there's no bad moments in Contact.
I know.
Don't exist.
I know. Even Matthew McConaughey is just like, woo. But that's not the film we're here to talk about today.
All right.
But just that's a very good rating for Jose.
Yeah, we're shocked, honestly. Shocked.
Yeah,
Yeah.
honestly, and what did it for me, I think what really turned the tables for me was having them have Ash be an android, because a lot of the annoyances that proto annoyances that were building up as the movie was happening, right, were all stemmed from Ash and his humanly illogical just fastidiousness to like keeping the main mission. You know what I mean? Like no human would have ever bothered, no matter how scientifically minded, right, or like in the company's pocket, would have kept that level of composure and like pretty much just indifference toward the fact that they were now being hunted by this creature.
No, initially though, what a good cover up for an android, because he let the alien on the ship, and when you first see that, you're like, he doesn't want his crewmate to die. He's not going to let that happen no matter what. You see it as a human weakness when he first lets them in.
Oh, yes.
I see it as like the way they posed, I fell for it. Hook, line, and sinker, because I saw it as like a scientist, like, no, we must bring it on board. Like, no, we must study it.
I thought that about him after
I-
learning his role.
Yeah,
I was like,
especially
he
after
wants
all
the
that.
alien.
I completely believed it. I was like, oh yeah, that's exactly why. The android thing, Jose called it out 3 seconds before we knew it was true.
It was like officially revealed, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it started ruminating in my mind once I saw the white plasty.
Yeah.
Like
Everybody knows, if you've seen Akira,
At
androids
this-
sweat milk, so.
yeah.
I thought he was infected.
I thought that
Mm.
too.
Y'all walked into that.
And I
room,
have
like,
seen
idiots
Akira.
without masks on.
My mind was flipping literally back and forth between he's the new host, and they've and there's an extra bit of alien lore that I don't know, wherein they can control minds prior to, or he's an android. That was literally like just a flipping continual back and forth. Like, I'm right no matter what. Like, I'm sure that I'll be right in one way or the other.
I'm correct.
Yeah.
My Schrodinger's right now. I'm Schrodingerly correct.
No, but that was
You have to pick one. You don't get it either way.
what I don't understand is why not just bring a full crew of androids? I mean, if they're to the degree that you can have an android be your science officer and fool Turing test, beat the Turing test on 7 individuals who are all completely privy to the present level of technology that's available, that you couldn't just make the whole thing be an android expedition.
That is such a good question that I'm upset immediately.
The cons were going to come in slowly but surely.
Well,
but
there's pretty good. I mean, androids probably expensive. Humans are probably way cheaper.
But
what, in dollars?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
operating cost, building cost,
relative to what
energy cost.
Mm-hmm.
relative to what they're saying. I mean, I guess
You don't need a cryo center.
Android don't need to eat.
Yeah,
don't
it's
have to
difficult
put them to
because it's
sleep. You don't have a legal nightmare when they die because you just send robots up there. It's way less risk.
yeah, it just doesn't make any
Mm.
sense in my personal opinion that you wouldn't send androids the entire way, because it's like, even if that exact same situation were to occur, right? I mean, the company still gets what it wants, right? Because even if it destroys all of the androids, the thing is still poised to get to Earth. Like, the ship is still already on its way to Earth no matter what.
Well, and you can send them new orders, new overrides as things change.
Mm-hmm.
They took our jobs.
Wait. What
The
do you
You could still
androids,
send the cat with
They
them if you
took
want.
our yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they would have.
Petty Officer Jonesy.
Yeah, there would. I think they had the opportunity to, like, make it okay if they would have bothered to make everybody be a bit more aghast about the fact that he was an android.
Yeah.
The way that they reacted to it, in my opinion, and the way that they were able to quickly interface with it after they destroyed it, makes me feel as though androids are a pretty normal occurrence.
Yeah.
Good
Very-
point. Yeah.
in
They
their
are
reality.
Yeah, there's like some hidden reason why he was an android that they didn't know. There was.
I'll be honest with you guys. I think this is a very good point, but I do also feel like we should probably drop it because this is a conversation about the movie Alien and not why we're not all androids and or cyborgs in the next 15 years, because this movie happens in 2037. It's 2021.
Oh, it's coming up. Yeah.
It's coming up.
Also,
But they still have push buttons for keyboards.
like a story about a bunch of androids on a ship. Nobody cares about the androids.
But wouldn't it have been cool if we come to figure out that everyone really is an android, right? So we have both an existential quandary and a survival quandary, right? Because
Including?
what if Sigourney Weaver's android still wants to live? You know what I mean? She's got she's got 2 issues, you know what I mean? Wherein, like, she wants to survive even as an android, and she still so she has to fight both her override, I mean, like, her already ingrained procedure, and fight the alien at the same time.
Wait. Everyone's an android, including or not including Petty Officer Jones?
I was just going to ask, and are they a miracle worker or, like, a monster for creating an AI cat? Can't fully express themselves. I don't know. With the rest of the AIs, if they're all AIs,
Now I'm wondering if like the Xenomorph is.
No, I'm
just
sure
a-
that they'd make it so the cat wasn't like, the cat was organic, and the
Why?
cat
So
would
we
be a
could risk
great
one real life?
Yeah, I
Have
mean,
it
the
be a
cat would be a
cat?
great empathic exercise for the androids continuously, like,
I feel like we're spiraling.
Ooh.
I don't think so. I mean,
Android by Ridley Scott.
I'm just saying that they like, by closing the door on the irregularities of Ash's behavior, they opened the door to my question: if Ash, why not everyone? especially if the fact that there were how many, 6 people on board?
Crew of seven.
Seven, a crew of 7 people, right? I mean, like, it just doesn't sound like it would be that ridiculous, especially considering that the ship as a whole looks like 3-4 cities, the size of 3-4 cities.
I have a theory. So, what if androids are not quite as normalized? Like they're a thing, but we're not like sending teams of them to places there. They're still reserving space travel for people because they can follow protocols and they have empathy. But someone wants like to be involved if they come across something alien. Someone wants to be able to observe and intervene.
I can see that. I mean, I mean, the archetypal reason for maintaining humans around, even when you have high intelligence AI or VI, is the fact that they can innovate in the moment. They're not so bound by their routine, right, that they would keep themselves from, staying alive. But then the issue the issue then comes from the fact that relative to the directives given by Mother, all of their lives are secondary. So already the company has instilled within their, within the logbook of this mission, the fact that all of these things can die anyway. And the only thing that I could see is your concept of like, life is so cheap in the future, and people are perhaps in they took our job situation that they're willing to take multi-year cryo-sleep work in order to be able to actually make ends meet.
And there's probably labor unions in place to like protect so many job places for people that actually need jobs and have to make money for their family and blah blah blah. There's some like universal basic jobism in place where
I feel like that really depends on how new this kind of job industry is.
And it seems pretty regular actually for like, I know we're in the future, some 2037 blah 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 whatever, but yeah, it's very possible a market like that exists. But anyway,
again, I think it's interesting that the whole in medias res concept of the lore, right? Because it obviously seems like the company knows about this planet.
No,
how does it not though? I mean, like, if the primary directive was go get the organism, bring it in, everyone's life is secondary, how could the company not have known that was going to happen?
Yeah, well, so there's two ways to look at it, and
Okay.
I guess I'm not sure which one it is, but there is the idea that, like you're describing, that this was a planned thing from the beginning, or that on their way back from said job, the Mother AI picked up this signal, and that's what sparked the waking everything up, and things proceeded just the same as they would have.
But again, how would Mother then go about conceptualizing this whole keep the organism alive? That's supposed to be...
that's Ash sending back. That's Ash talking to the what's the company? The why blah blah blah.
Wayland Yutani, but I don't think they even say, they only call it the company in this.
Right.
I believe you, Matt, in the sense where it's like it's Ash or whoever is inputting data into Mother, air quotes, you know what I mean? And Mother is spitting back results based on what they're understanding. It's like, okay, you've picked up a spaceship, like a alien species. Like, I don't care what the fuck happens, to the rest of the crew.
Oh, that's
like this
pretty
alien
good.
species makes it back to Earth. These other people are just humans and a cat.
so
I don't care.
The idea is that Ash is like the puppet of the company,
Right.
and he's placed there for a situation like this.
Mm.
Because in the grand scope lore, so to speak, this is the very first encounter of or no, this isn't the very so
That's what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah,
it's
so-
impossible for the company to not have known about this if the whole conception was we're gonna make it look like an accident, right? Like everybody,
Yeah.
like
we actually don't know now that I say that. So because the plot of Prometheus, the end of it is ambiguous as far as whether or not the company would ever find out about the existence of this place. So it would follow technically that they could stumble across this signal and have done so twice.
Yep.
Just that it's a shipping lane maybe that they use, but
because the thing that's really driving me to believe that this was all premeditated, even as the Nostromo was leaving Earth the first time around, like for its dummy mission of mining, was the fact that Ash mentioned the fact that they want it for as a perfect weapon, like it's a perfect organism, and like they want to study it in that way. So it's like nobody looked like it was they were taking pictures. Nope, you know what I mean? Like there wasn't anything that like be like, oh look, this is what it looks like. You know what I mean? Like
Nobody was even trying to protect themselves from it. You know, like later on, they first wore like little masks under
They're a bunch of
cover their nose and mouth,
blue collar.
but their eyes were exposed. Like it's 2037, COVID's happened.
Oh, yeah. In the Ridley
Full-
Scott canon, he's got to
Goddamn, full
fucking
face
put it in there.
masks,
So
everybody, come on.
yeah, masks are a form of slavery, Kimmy. I don't know if
I
you knew
forget.
that.
I'm so
Yeah.
sorry. I didn't mean to oppress you in the conversation.
And they took our jobs.
yeah, so
The androids did.
Yes.
yeah, that's a pivoting aspect about the movie. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? That can doesn't negatively affect the movie, but it really uh affects the way that I would interpret the whole thing.
Mhm.
Because if it's premeditated, I think that's way more badass. Because the entire thing, essentially shows itself as a giant ruse. If it is an accident, I dislike it just a tiny bit more because there's a lot of contrivances and conveniences that then have to be essentially like pretty much brushed aside, in that way.
Yeah.
Because-
Okay. So because the end of Prometheus is ambiguous, it really doesn't affect it either way.
Okay.
But yeah, I think I might agree with you that it is a little better if they had known about this beforehand.
Right. I loved it because of the fact that, again, in terms of sequel hooking and sequel baiting, right? The having the company already be so unethical, already sets it up. So even though the entire movie's like the energy of the movie in terms of antagonism is poised toward the creature, the real villain of this whole situation is the company that put you in this position in the first place. Right? And those individuals are still so far away from Sigourney's capacity to be able to like touch them in any way and actually make a difference, wherein another mining company isn't actively being poised and set right now because they just got the Nostromo like signal that one was destroyed, right?
I'm glad in this moment that you haven't seen the sequel to
Well, there you go.
this.
See, yeah, it's 1979. I just watched this movie for the first time. I'm just wondering what they're gonna do next. Yeah, they could go in so many different ways.
Yeah,
Mhm.
they go in a blockbuster way.
Mm.
I'll say that.
Oh, it makes sense. I mean, I can imagine this movie might have been pretty expensive. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if everything that we see is like miniature model than cameraized to look large and like or if it really is a set made 1-to-1 to what it would be like for a human to be there, right? Because
Well, that's a lot of this, even the scenes that we do get in the like mother room, in the hallways, in the like belly of the ship, it's all like amazing, especially for the time. Like you said straight away, you were blown away by how intricate and detailed everything looked. And I think that really adds to like it all takes place on the ship, but everything looks so neat and cool and attractive that it's got this sort of effect of having a constant focus on it, which is nice. Pulls you in like that. Yeah.
this movie, relative to the aesthetic of it, feels like it could have been in like the Star Wars universe. Like if like especially like in terms of like the New Hope look at the exact same time in the 70s when this
2
one
years
came-
prior. Yeah.
Mhm.
New Hope came out.
Yeah, like it pretty much like it looks just like a Earth made version of all of the technology from like the Star Wars universe and stuff like that. From the way that the Star Destroyers have the exact same like small intricate like patterns like inside like little micro guns or whatever it is that they have like like built into the sides and everything. Yeah, I mean, like if you were to just rip pieces, if you were to just like take pieces of like the outside of the ship, you know what I mean, and just take that and then put that next to like a Star Wars one, you know what I mean? It would take I feel like a true geek to be able to tell like one between the other.
It is oddly similar, the opening to this, where it's the undercrawl of the belly of the Nostromo to A New Hope 2 years prior.
Mhm.
I'm not pointing fingers. I don't
Hey,
care.
listen, yeah. I mean, when you see good things, might as well emulate them, right? I mean,
Yeah.
especially if they work within the same concept.
Oh yeah, yeah. And when it like, okay, I guess I haven't seen too many movies from like the 60s and the 50s, but I feel like I'm pretty confident in the idea that when it comes to like the horror ideas introduced in this movie and the way that a movie like this should be paced and how the character should be like this, the reason that you have encountered, you know, alien in pop culture so often is because of this. You know, this is like the founding stepping stone for that, you know. And it's really cool to see. It's cool because it's such an old movie. You get to look, you'll start to see those references much better now as you know, go about your watchings, and it's yeah, it's cool to see its influences.
I think this movie was bad to watch just in the sense that a lot of other media now loses a lot of points retrospectively because it seems like they have cribbed off this movie so much.
Mm-hmm.
And like in tons of media, like for example Dead Space, you know, like that entire video game is essentially this movie just made a little bit longer and with more delicate gruesome enemies.
Mm-hmm.
The entirety of the ship is pretty much exactly the same kind of design. Everything about it pretty much gives the exact same type of vibe. The blue collar aspect of the protagonist and you know them having to jury rig their way to the end of it all. Yeah, like it's quite amazing now having had this like third eye open to like all of the like the alien similarities and other things. Yeah, I feel like my life's now been cheapened a little bit because so many things like take from it, you know, like they've been drawing from that well for 40 years now.
That's how deep it was. Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, don't worry because Ridley Scott himself will let you down when we come to the next film and the ones after.
I can understand it. I mean, this was such a well, again, insulated concept, right? Like, but at the same time, with the amount of hooks necessary to take it in the direction that you want, that like they could have just left it as one movie. You know what I mean? And even then, you would have wondered, well, why not make more movies? You know, like this movie, there's no way by this point somebody wouldn't have remade it and then made it into a franchise if they didn't do that the first time around, you know?
Yeah, there's a reason that Alien vs Predator exists, and that's because the Xenomorph is just fucking cool. It's just like, that's cool. It's the perfect predator. It's got acid blood. It's got metal teeth and shit and whatever else. Like,
Does the Xenomorph have acid blood?
yeah, I think so.
That's a good question.
At least according to Mortal Kombat 10.
Yeah, because the
Solid resource.
yeah,
Yeah. You gotta pull where you can, you know. Yeah, the face hugger does, but yeah, I believe the Xenomorph does as well. We
that
see
triggers
that
some
in later
questions, right?
films.
Though that we should probably talk about is
start.
why does the face hugger birth the Xenomorph? Actually, in terms of like if we're getting to just walking through the movie, I have a ton of questions.
Okay, yeah,
lined
please.
up.
Yeah, I'd like to address just walking through the movie.
Yeah, because I mean, I think that let's just table the Xenomorph acid blood question for just a minute. But like getting into it, for me, when this movie picks up is when the face hugger comes into motion. So if you guys, unless you have something major you want to discuss before that point, I think we can start talking about that.
Yeah, go on with the face hugger.
Yeah, I mean
I would agree. I nothing really instrumental happens. that also, as someone who's watched Alien now at 30 for the first time, that I haven't seen in many other tropes. This whole movie, actually, I've seen in many tropes since then. But like, yeah, when the alien shows up, when it's attacked, what is his name?
John Hurt.
Kane.
Kane. Yes, not John. Thank you, but yes. Yeah, when it attacks
He'll always be
Kane,
John Hurt.
When it hits his face, like that is definitely, I'd say, when the movie begins.
Yeah, and they walk him back, and I think that that's when we start getting questions as an audience in ourself. It's like, I want to think that, I mean, probably all of us would know you probably shouldn't let him in with an alien on his
You're
face.
right. Ripley poses the first question, essentially, where they're like, "Let us in," and she's like, "No."
Yeah.
And right here, if we're gonna be going slowly through the movie, I would like to incorporate the company always knew about it right away, because Ash has the capacity even before they have even before they know that the alien is an actual thing, he has the capacity to override Ripley.
Mhm.
It didn't make a lot of sense the first time around when he was still in a human perspective, you know what I mean? When I still thought that he was a human, because I thought that the entirety of the ship ran on, okay, she's the new, like her voice would have to be the one to like override that or not. Right, but now knowing that he's an android that can interface with the ship directly, it makes a lot more sense. The fact that he was able to do that and then pass it off.
Just
you
to
know.
give like other side of that too. I struggled a little bit with like if you put yourself in Ash's position, the actual captain of the ship is just outside the door. He's in like the space between the doors and he's like, let me in.
That's true.
So it is a very conflicting situation. I mean, he should have made the right call, in my opinion, but he didn't. They were arguing.
Right. I do like the fact that soon after they give such a great subversion of like of cold calculus in that way. Like they make you think that Sigourney is the one who is running on cold calculus, when in reality, throughout the entire thing, the veiled cold calculus is coming from the android, who is actually veiling empathy in order to be able to have the full directive go through.
That's exactly the best place for an android to jump in, because he's just going to cover his trail of being an android so well. By being like, oh, I let them in because I won't let him die.
Yeah, it could also be seen as like a really nice establishing shot of like, oh, Sigourney Weaver is the only rational one on this entire ship. And lo and behold, she's the one that makes it out alive. The only rational actor.
Her and Petty Officer Jonesy.
Yes, Lieutenant Jones. By the end of the...
But he was also the only one taking pragmatic steps to avoid the creature. So,
Right.
I mean...
Yeah.
He was observing in the best way possible.
If anything, perhaps the cat was actually the insider man for the company.
Petty Officer
Okay.
Jonesy.
Now I'm curious because we have
Don't say the
Sigourney
cat.
Weaver, John Hurt. Was the cat one of the 7?
Ooh, you said it again.
Was Jonesy one of the 7 on board? The crew accounted for?
Oh, that's a good question. Okay,
think?
so it's Lambert.
I mean, in space, you
Mhm.
have to account for a cat.
Ash,
Stay down.
Dallas, Weaver. What's the name of the girl?
Parker?
Lambert.
Lambert,
Yeah, I already said Lambert.
Parker.
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 Right. It's to do with the bandana. And what's the name of the guy that's always like, right?
Yeah.
No, that's not Dallas. That Dallas is the
The
cat.
old guy.
The guy who was killed after he was looking. The guy who was killed after he was looking for.
Petty Officer Jonesy. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so- and then it's 7. Then Sigourney Weaver.
No, I already did
No,
Sigourney.
It's Officer Jonesy.
I think it's got to be Officer Jones.
I mean, it has to be data, right? Like if you're sending things into space.
Yeah,
you
you
have
got
to
to
count
account for
him.
the weight and the food and
Because if
the...
anything kills him, it's still
litter.
data.
Mhm.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
If anybody can hear it, our dogs are rustling in the background.
Yeah,
So we apologize for that.
that's just fun background noise, folks. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, they can't believe it's been this. We've taken this long to watch this movie.
It's been 40 years, you guys. Come on. It's all over pop culture.
I think the next question though on the table is, what do you do if one of your shipmates has a face hugger and he's in a coma?
You leave him on the planet.
No, after that.
No,
You mean like after someone's let him onto my ship?
Yeah. After an android, most namely, has let him onto your ship.
We all take the shuttle and leave him on the ship.
the shuttle only fits 3, I think.
What if you put him in the shuttle?
Yeah, that would have been solid.
Ooh.
That would have actually been a very solid.
Hannah, you're
maneuver.
allowed
But
on
you
my
gotta
ship.
walk them through the ship to get to the shuttle.
They could have done that. I mean, they from the moment that they came in all the way to instead of going to the med bay, they could have gone. I'm sure that the little ship has a little med bay.
Mhm.
You know,
Even just as a backup plan, just in case. Like, that's an alien. Why wouldn't you just set him up in the shuttle?
but at the end of the day, it wouldn't matter anyways, right? Because Kane, well, at least the incubation of the alien allows the host to pretend to be okay long enough to
to get out of the med bay.
yeah, to get out of whatever med bay or whatever, you know what I mean? And then at that point, like we would be in the exact same position no matter what. So it's difficult to say, like, considering even with having hindsight, it doesn't really feel like there's a lot of means of survivability.
Is
like-
the face hugger
There-
just a protective measure for the xenomorph babies, or is it
No,
mother?
that's the means supposedly by which it reproduces, right?
Well,
Like,
see, this is incredible because there are literal factual answers to these questions
But
that
see-
don't take place in this movie.
and that's the thing. It's like we can't use that information for the most part.
well, I don't know how to talk.
Yeah.
It's
just
so
take it-
frustrating.
Just take it from face
Well,
value.
thank you for listening,
Some
everybody. This
face
was a
hugger
wonderful
value.
episode of Lethal
Take it,
Introspection.
take it at face hugger value. I mean,
At face hugger value.
I mean, at this point, in my personal opinion, right? Again, I'm a man from 1979, and I just finished watching this movie,
yeah.
and I'm having a podcast with my friends as one wants to do in 1979.
Or is it called one of them talkie shows?
Yeah,
on the
exactly.
old
Welcome
tuner
to our
box?
talkie. I would imagine that the alien, mates almost with the host. Like, it takes on particular characteristics of the host and then melds it with like its perfect form kind of
To
situation.
create the xenomorph.
Exactly. Like the reason why the xenomorph looks man-sized, as they eventually stated, right? And why it has like a bipedal like morphology in the little bits we can see, while still having like the little like double mouth kind of situation, big claws, silver teeth, and everything, is because that is actually a half human, half creature hybrid.
So if that's the case, what's the egg that
Oh,
they came
man.
out of?
This is gonna be so good to pull back up when we watch the next one.
That's just
Like,
what.
all
Yeah,
of these are
that's
gonna be
literally just what
fascinating.
I'm imagining would happen. Like if the face hugger had caught on to the cat, let's say, like if Petty Officer Jonesy was the one on the
On the table?
on the
That
table.
would never happen.
No, he would have never allowed himself to how.
Hmm.
He would have logged in the egg, all right, and then walked away from it as one.
Nobody can catch Petty Officer Jones.
Petty Officer Jonesy.
I would imagine that the little xenomorph that would have popped out of his, the xenomorph that would have popped out of his belly would have been proportional to the size of the host, and then it would have reconstituted itself to be like a feline-esque creature. You know what I mean? It wouldn't have grown to the degree that now it's man-sized alien. You know what I mean?
Do you think that because he's a cat, he would have also had like 3 or 4 of them born at the same time, not just one?
A litter.
A litter?
Like a little litter.
Litter of
maybe.
xenomorph kitties.
Xenomorph
Aw.
kitties.
I can't imagine
Can
that
you
shit with fur.
imagine the alien
Oh,
with
Oh my
little-
God.
Little tiny earsies.
It's like a cat, but way, way worse. That's what a fucking xenomorph cat is, like the worst cat you can
It's a
imagine.
regular kitten. It just hisses all the time.
or does that?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's my.
So in that interpretation, is the egg just a nest that the adult built, or what is the egg?
The egg is just where the face hugger. I mean,
Lives.
yeah, exactly. I don't know anything else about the incubation cycle of the does every alien make its own egg, or is it like,
Oh,
but I don't
maybe
know
it's
that. You know what I
for
mean? I don't know that no matter what. Like,
It's like chickens, right? Where like chickens lay the egg and then the egg is fertilized. No, that's not how that works.
Well, I can't say.
That is how that.
You shake your head at me and I'm
But
like,
that is essentially but you're
"Oh,
right.
that's what I imagine."
But
It's
you're
like-
right in the sense that
Fish
from what
for
we
sure
get to
do that.
see,
This
you know what I
is
mean?
an
Like,
unfertilized thing
Yeah.
until it can find some place to like then re-fertilize. I don't
Right.
understand. I'm not an alien.
Maybe
Right.
it's a trap for that reason because I mean, so many things eat eggs, so it makes sense that you'd go hang your face over an egg.
We eat eggs.
yeah, and I mean,
so many things eat eggs. So
I mean, foxes eat everything. Snakes, everything eats eggs. Almost everything.
Let's say it eats like 3 eggs a week. So.
and on top,
So Jose
in
would
terms
have a
of like,
face hugger because he would be like, "Oh, an
And-
egg."
yeah, and in terms of perfect adaptability, right? Like, whatever survives long enough to get near the egg probably deserves a face hugger, you know what I mean, to become an alien anyways, right? Like, it wouldn't be choosy no matter what as to like what is capable of actually getting all the way there. And that way, the alien man is able to, if it's insect-like, let's say, right? And it does it, or it does it in the way that Kimmy says, where it's like, you know, it has like a base DNA and then it's fertilized with, you know, something else has to come by to fertilize the other half, right? Like, it could very well be like that the creature's actual, let's say, quote unquote, base form is the face hugger. And then it's the coupling with another creature that then allows it to become the xenomorph, whatever, right? That's the only way that I could.
You are gonna be like semi-impressed with yourself by the time we've finished the Alien filmography. You are like you're gonna
Okay.
come back and listen to this and be like, hey,
I'm sorry. Did Matt just make an executive decision that we're going through all of the Alien filmography?
not one after another, but eventually, yeah. we got nothing but time.
We don't have to do it all in the podcast, but I will attend because I've seen Alien versus Predator.
That doesn't count.
Okay.
I mean, it's technically like
Yes. So what's canon?
The first
I-
movie, the second movie, Prometheus, and now Covenant, I believe, are all technically
Guys, I think we're having a
canon.
really hard time sticking to just the movie.
God,
I'm
it's so
having
hard.
an easy time because I don't really remember the other ones.
lucky
So
fucks.
Everyone's like, what are we? What are
I'm
we
glad
talking
to
about?
check
And I'm
the
like,
rest
let's
of
just
the
talk
group.
about this movie. Sigourney Weaver is like a badass bitch,
Yep.
and like
this leaves plenty to talk about. I think we should stick to
Well, that's
it.
exactly what I'm doing. I mean, I'm giving my head canon
Mhm.
to what I think is, you know, what I
Yeah.
mean, like the origin of the thing.
Matt's
Whether I'm
absolutely
right or
our
not,
problem.
you know what I mean?
I can't give my head canon. I would love to.
Right, because he has no head canon. He
Yeah.
has only conformed lore that isn't, that is from the far,
I'm
far
in the-
flung future from
yeah.
not 1979.
I'm a
where we're
time
at right
traveler.
now.
So we've theoretically covered the reproductive processes of the face hugger.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Good job.
Yep.
I mean, yeah, tangentially warm. Very well done. Any way you slice it, it's awesome. I'd watch those movies too.
But it just keeps, again, I just come back to the fact that it just seems like Mother was right in terms of their survivability is just no, you
Yeah.
know, like,
Yeah, and just hearing you guys talk about these first couple scenes with Ash too, I think I'm moving more towards your idea of how the company knew about all this nonsense beforehand.
another thing that would cement my way of thinking about it is the fact that Ash is the one that goes out of his way when they first get the signal to remind everyone, hey, listen, you're not getting paid if we don't go check out the signal, you know? And if that, it just doesn't add up to an accident, you know what I mean? Or a
Mhm.
coincidence without cheapening the movie. Like, I can either choose to believe that everything was conspiratorial and keep the movie at aces, or believe the other way and be like, okay, so we're just falling for one coincidence after another, and then the android had a secret base override where if you happen to find aliens, you're like that, you have to keep everybody,
Hey,
like,
I mean, keep your ears to the ground, buddy.
yeah, exactly. Like, it seems far better and far more, again, far away evil, to have the company just be so uncaring about their people, right? That they were willing to make these miners believe that they were going on a mining ship, have their ass do the mining, and then put them in a cryopod for 6 months to wake their ass up only to die. You know what I mean? That's a lot of issue. Because at the end of the day, if that were the case, why not just have it as they're going to the mining ship, before they even do the mining stuff, get the signal then. You know what I mean? Like, they went out of their way to cover their tracks to make it look like it was all coincidental. You know?
Yeah, well said. Yep. So after John Hurt dies, then the movie just goes downhill, right? Everybody agree? No? Disagree?
I don't think it was okay.
I'm joking. I'm fucking joking. I really like John
I
Hurt.
agree with the point where it's just like, why have the captain? Why have Dallas be the one who goes through?
That
Why
bugged
is he
the
the-
hell out of me.
the vent
Especially because Parker is the name of the black guy with the bandana, right? Or is it Lambert?
Yeah.
The other way around.
Parker.
No, Lambert is the
Parker
lady.
black guy, Lambert's the lady.
Okay.
yeah.
Parker seemed like he should have been the individual who goes into the vents.
Wait, why do you say that?
Huh?
Yes, he looks like a badass.
Well, not only is he
Was the purpose of going into the vents to kill the xenomorph?
No, push him into like a corner so they could shut him out
so
the
they could shut
airlock.
him off. Yeah, they were. It's really shitty because at the end of the day, who was it that it was Ash who told them, hey, listen, play with fire with it, like see if like
Yeah, see if he can.
See,
He's
like-
just testing its
see if
properties.
freezing or fire will move it. You know what I mean? So it's like everything is now suspect. Like was that also just a field test for the alien?
So I have a question. If it's the
Oof.
four of us on the ship, who goes into the vents to
Who's
flush out the xenomorph?
Who's who actually holds rank? Like what are our roles here?
I think
Who are
I'm
we?
the
Like-
I'm the joint smoking guy or the cigarette, the space smoke.
Yeah.
I'm that
Just
guy.
cigarette.
I feel like
You're
it's
petty
really hard
you're
to
petty
not-
blunt
No, no, no,
roller
no,
metro.
cigarette.
Betty Blunt Roller Matt at your service.
Always has one already in his ear.
Yeah,
Here you go,
just
sir.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
For the fun of just the experiment, can we say that we're all equal rank?
No,
No, that doesn't make any sense. What? They sent us all
I mean,
at
it
equal
does have to
rank?
make sense to the whole spaceship situation. I'm just curious who gets forced in the vents.
You know, baby, I love
I'd go
you.
in the vent.
I just don't feel like you would have other qualifications where you probably wouldn't be first into the vent.
I don't know. I mean, it doesn't really matter.
I feel like
think
if you
at this point,
if you ended up on a spaceship, you'd have some sort of like more important job than vent protector.
but that's the thing. We don't. If we're
In all of
if
them?
we're going by egalitarianism and we're all equal rank, right?
Okay.
Then I mean, it really wouldn't matter, right? Like it would just have to end up being about who wants to be bravest. And I think
Sure.
that's kind of the issue that Dallas was facing is that him being a genuine human, because he's the captain and he's already had life lost. He wants to lead by example in that way, and doesn't want any more blood on his hands.
yeah, it's sort of his responsibility.
That's where I feel like they kind of screwed up, because I feel like the reason I asked this question is because I think it's a really good question. Because I think you have to decide who do you think is most capable, but balance it with who is not disposable.
But at the end of the day, Dallas was disposable because if you think back on
Because
his
Sigourney's more capable of his job.
She's clearly
She
smarter.
is.
far, I mean, if you and you can see it from his own resignation of how he talks about it. He doesn't consider himself to be the leader. He just considers himself to be the glue that's keeping everybody from being at each other's throats.
And this
Which
is cemented.
Which is a manager, not a leader.
Yeah, this
Yep.
in the
agree.
scene where she offers to go in the vent and he says, "No, you're staying here. You got more."
Because
important
he
shit to do."
knows that she's
Yes.
more, like so
Mm.
that she's more capable. So if anything, what we're talking about does in fact happen. The movie just subverts us in that way by having formal ranks make us think, okay, captain shouldn't go to vent. Like
Captain
Captain
to vent.
shouldn't go
No.
to vent.
Very good point.
Well, I was
Oh,
mostly
Captain
mad
Prevent.
because of the codes. Like, she was trying to communicate with the ship after that, and that was going
Mhm.
poorly because the captain was gone.
yeah, but even then it shouldn't have mattered, right? Because having had the captain already be logged as dead means that she's next in line for all.
Was he logged as dead? Because they couldn't find him. There wasn't blood
Oh,
or
that's
anything like
true.
that.
That's true. Yeah. I do wonder what the necessities would be to be like KIA, you know what I mean? Like for that kind of situation. Like
Yeah, I was wondering that as it was going through, because limited background, it seemed to me like she didn't have any authority to do anything.
Right, because it would be very easy to be able to sabotage it if all you have to do is be like, yeah, KIA, the captain's dead now. I'm the captain.
Captain's dead.
I'm the captain now.
I'm the captain now.
Yeah. Look at me, mother. I'm the captain.
No, honestly. And that's what I was thinking too. Like, there must be some sort of checking process for if that happens.
Mhm.
Man, I would imagine that there is. I mean, this seems like such a smart, a smart ship to the sense where it's like it could probably sense your heart rates.
Yeah, but her as second in command would have to know it, right? Like, she should be, wouldn't she be
Mother?
doing something?
Yeah, Mother would have to know it.
No, Sigourney Weaver's character, Ripley, would have to know it.
Oh.
Because she's second in command, so she has to know how to take over quickly.
Oh. I understand what you mean.
Yeah, like, is it an automatic thing? You know, does it flip over right
Or is
away?
there,
Yeah,
like,
that when she gets authority, she's like, oh, the captain's dead.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because you shouldn't have to see the captain die for that. It should be.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're talking 2037.
Yeah. It shouldn't be all we found was his gun. Are
So
you
we
in
have
charge
to.
now?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like for her it'd be like the moment he went radio silence. She'd be like, I'm in charge now.
Yeah.
You know?
Better to have a smart ship, though, because that's a great way to end up in a war in your ship.
You're in a civil war. Yeah, end up with a schism like that. It's like, who's the captain now, right?
Yeah.
Or people killing each other continuously to just get to the degree where that person gets to be the captain.
Mm.
Yeah. Whew. I just can't believe that big of ship can be operated by 7 people. Like, that is
2037, baby.
That's so crazy.
I
Like-
mean, the thing is, it's driving itself as an artificial intelligence to some degree, isn't it?
I mean, it really does add to credence to Matt's like they took our jobs kind of situation. If the majority of that ship is so automated
Yeah.
to the degree that like a 3-4 cities worth of a ship can run on 7 people, like
Yeah.
that's crazy.
What a weird mashup of problems, though, because I would feel like if a ship that size is being run by that few of people, it would be because the ship is now capable of monitoring its own performance and being like, okay, I need some like manual labor in the bottom deck or something like that.
That or if we
But-
want to be conspiratorial toward the company again, they know that they only need that many to bait and hook the creature into the ship in that way. And more people just adds variability to them either killing the creature, exposing themselves, or not dying on the way back. Because Sigourney Weaver is now, unfortunately, public enemy number 1 to the company because she knows all about their, malfeasance and stuff like that. So, I can't wait as a man from 1979 to watch Alien 2.
But there's so much,
Alien 2 is what
No
he would
proof.
think it is.
for Sigourney Weaver. The comms that she saw, or the directive that she saw from Mother, all were on the original ship, not the shuttle. What is she going to prove?
Right. If anything, right now she looks like a murderer. Because I mean, it could very easily be turned around on her and be like, "Why were you the only one that survived?"
Because she has a witness,
Who does?
Sigourney Weaver.
Officer
The
Jones.
fuck?
Oh,
cat?
right. I guess, yeah. I mean, we don't know enough about the future to know whether they can rain scan a cat and look at its past memories and,
I think they call that a CAT scan.
Oh, shit. We have those. Yeah, we're good.
We're so far
This
ahead.
has been another episode of the Introspection Crew.
I'll be here all week.
We're self-destructing in T-minus 10 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, we deserve to after that terrible joke called in by Matt Metro.
That's why I'm here. Continue your discussion.
Yeah, so where are we right now?
Can we
just
recover
had
from
Dallas
that?
go into the vent, and he absolutely gets mauled. So what does the creature do with them? Does it eat them? Like what? Like I am at such a
Yeah, where's
loss,
Dallas?
especially because it's got such a tiny mouth.
I think
Maybe
part
it
of
wants the ship.
I think part of the because this at least at the beginning of this movie it plays into that what Lovecraft cosmic horror.
Hmm.
The fear of the unknown, not knowing what it, face hugger, what the fuck is that, blah, blah, blah. But then by the time they get to the actual movie monster, I think one of the smart things that they do is continue to keep the monster's form of killing as unknown as its origin and, you know, everything else. Like, I think there's something cool that you can do by taking a movie monster, taking away how it kills people, and then leaving that all in shadow so that everybody is just more scared at, like, what the fuck does that thing do to you? I don't know. You're all of a sudden gone.
See, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with not needing to know how it kills. Like in Ritual, for a long period of the movie, it's just like they're screaming and then somebody's dead and you don't know. And I think that adds to the horror aspect. But what's really getting under my skin is why it kills. Because, I mean, we have no reason to think that it's eating them. Just an alien from another planet.
Man, you really
it-
don't remember.
Is it just out of no? And that's why I add such
God,
a
this
great
is so
perspective
frustrating.
to this podcast. Is because I'm focused on only the movie at hand. Thank you.
It's so hard because you're asking questions that are answered. So it's
On this
different.
podcast, they're not. This is why I didn't want to do Alien. So
It was Jose's pick. He wanted to do. He's never seen it. It's an
We
important
discussed it as a
cultural
group.
milestone.
So Jose and I had to just orchestrate the dogs getting outside. I am lost and curious what you guys are talking about.
Well, Hannah has a issue, as did Jose, with seeing how the creature exacts its judgment.
no.
upon its
I
victims.
want to correct this because literally I just said I don't mind not knowing how it kills. What's bothering me is not knowing why it's killing. Like I could get it if it's just afraid because it was in many ways born on this ship, but.
How it picks its victim.
Well, I mean,
Or
not even
why?
necessarily that, because they're chasing it. But it's like
Okay.
Jose asked a question, like, does it eat them? Does it want the ship for some reason? Like, what's going on?
What made the alien, not to skip too far forward, I hope that's okay, but like
No, go for
towards
it.
the end of the movie, what makes the alien decide
As long
instead
as
of
you're not
standing,
skipping 3 movies forward like Matt.
instead of deciding to stand in the hallway, what makes this alien decide to go to sleep inside the shuttle?
Yeah, I didn't
know, like-
understand that either. Like, did he? So,
Why?
is it intelligent though? Does it know the ship is going to blow?
I
And
think
it's
it
like,
is.
shuttle.
You guys talk about it being like a xenomorph. It has to be like, I feel like potentially obvious. It's part human, and then it's also it
Maybe
has this
it's
like
part human.
maybe, but also if it gestated inside Kane, does it just by doing that inherently have knowledge upon the ship?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Like,
But wouldn't
Matt,
it be trying
I
to
wish everyone could
get
see us right now
away
because
in the
Matt, like,
shuttle?
he's just like shrugging.
Well, apparently I can't.
Yeah, you can't say anything, Matt.
I'm just a simple man from 1979.
He is a simple man. He can't say anything.
Right.
We are.
Matt's a
Right.
simple man from the future because he
1979.
apparently knows all the lore.
I'm a simple time traveler from 2021.
Well, this would be exactly the issue with being a time traveler, right? Is the fact that people would just be talking and just be like, "Oh my fucking god, I can't say anything."
I just want to blow your fucking minds right now, and I
am your
can't.
grandpa.
I can't say anything. Invest in Apple. That's all I'm saying. Just invest in Apple.
And Amazon.
Yeah,
Invest in apples. What?
yeah, you'll get it.
They're
You'll
like
get
2
it.
cents a bushel. What's this guy talking about?
So I bought 2 Orchard. I got a company making sauce. I don't know.
They go bad. That's the worst investment.
This guy told me exactly how Empire Strikes Back was going to play out. He's not lying. He's from the future. Hey. So you didn't like that you didn't get to see the creature kill. You wanted some details.
Oh, I didn't mind that. I was just wondering, like, what does the creature do with them? You know what I mean? Like, it bothered me the fact that there was no blood when they found Dallas, because I was like, okay, I was expecting the creature to just be hungry. You know, like I thought that it was just eating in order to be able to get to its full size, but that doesn't seem to be the case. I don't get it.
All these questions and more.
I mean, we were talking about this while you were out of the room with the dogs, and we were saying that it might be killing out of fear because it was born on the ship, or it might have also inherited knowledge from Kane.
I can see that second one most certainly, especially considering that it went out of its way to like stow away in the other ship right away.
That's what I said. I was like, why did it decide to sleep in the little deciding to go after her when she left Jonesy and was like, "Fuck this," and she like ran away.
Mm-hmm.
Why didn't it chase her? Why was it like, you know what? Either we all die here or she releases the shuttle. And if she releases the shuttle, I'm gonna go to sleep in it.
I really
Wouldn't he
do.
know how to release the shuttle if he did inherit the knowledge, though?
I
Wouldn't
don't
he
think
be
that
in there with
perhaps
his
his
xenomorph hands by
yeah,
himself?
his actual morphology will allow him to run the numbers like that. But he's like, you know what? I'm getting the base feeling that this is the safest place. You know,
Maybe he would have gotten there if he was more than just a couple hours old.
It's the perfect predator.
yeah.
The perfect.
You know, yeah. When you say words like
Predator.
yeah, when they say words like perfect like that, you know, like it makes me wonder. It's like, does it understand you? You know what I mean? Like, is it able to like, even if it doesn't understand that it's that like the countdown is a countdown? You know what I mean? Like, would it want to get away from something that would be making like like that kind of noise or whatever, right? Like that seems ominous. Like something.
Well, yeah, and if this, if the like separate like escape pod is a separate ship, probably the shaking and the announcements and stuff are much more, toned down in there because it's not reverberating through the walls.
It's not technically a part of. It's
Right.
attached to.
Like if the xenomorph was a cat, I bet that's where you'd find the cat in that scenario.
And I mean, he is all purred up and tucked in like a cat would be inside of like a little nook in the ship.
Yeah, 100%.
So, I mean, it really is interesting, like having Petty Officer Jonesy and the cat share scenes together because, for all intents and purposes, they are both apex predators. You know, like
Petty Officer Jonesy is the cat. You said and the cat.
oh, sorry, I don't know.
I was like, do you have a
Means
whole
Sigourney-
nother
he
theory
means- he
about?
means
No, no.
He's
Sigourney
calling the
Weaver.
xenomorph.
No, I mean the
Okay.
creature and Petty
Ridley.
Officer Jonesy.
There's actually two cats.
No, I meant the creature and Petty Officer Jonesy because from an objective perspective, they're both apex predators. Like they do nothing but kill, right? Like that is what they do. But there is a level of acceptability because of the tameability of a cat that we allow it to even come into space with us all the way through. But then there's this creature, right, that is essentially all of the qualities that a cat is, and a tiny bit more. And and then it just wrecks us, but the ferocity, you know what I mean, and the drive for the kill is I would imagine just as intense on both ends,
But it wasn't the only thing that I would push back on with that is it didn't appear to be hunting
what didn't the
the
creature?
xenomorph because I feel like cats are always hunting. Like you can watch them looking for things to kill.
What would you call what it did to that guy, the petty blunt officer?
Penny Officer Blunt Smoker.
Yeah.
Matt's character that he felt so
Mhm.
so connected to.
Yeah, it's like a kindred spirit out in the
I
far
mean,
wasted space.
That's
I
a
died
fair
when he
one
died.
because I mean that I don't really know how they both ended up in the same place. Maybe that one was hunting, but like as far as like at least Dallas goes, he was chasing it through the vents.
Dallas was
Or
chasing
was it chasing?
No, I mean like
him?
no, the creature came to
Supposed be there
Dallas.
behind him.
Behind him.
Yeah, behind him.
Yeah.
It's tough, right? Because if you do want to give the creature more sympathetic qualities like fear, right? I can't really say no to it because, I mean, sometimes ferocity can be born out of fear,
Usually in like the cases of dogs or people for the most part. I don't know. I just want it to be consistent because I don't feel like I have enough data either way to determine why it's killing other than that it's instinctual.
Matt, for the people at home, he's just shaking his head very
Nodding.
violently. Yeah, nodding his head violently that we don't have enough data. Those of us who have not seen all of the Alien
Yep.
series. Okay, fine.
I think everything is so inconclusive.
Yeah. Sorry.
But either,
So,
I mean,
good
either way,
ideas,
I'm
like-
still really, really glad that we got to watch the movie.
It was a great movie.
Holy shit,
Yeah,
yeah.
I liked it.
It's one of my favorites, and it also has one of my favorite taglines for a movie back when that was like really important, which is "In space, no one can hear you scream." It's sick.
It says on the movie poster.
Yeah, it's super sick.
When do we rate the movie so I can hear your guys' thoughts and opinions?
Well, I mean, if as long as you guys are satisfied on the mystery of the Xenomorph for now and are willing to wait
Yeah, because
until
we started talking about the end first, right? And I think
Mhm.
like now we've kind of made full circle to everything, because the next sections are just us coming to figure out that Ash is an android, and how much that fixes a lot of the past of the movie, but
Mhm.
also opens up a lot of questions too, as to, if him, why not everyone kind of thing, right?
Mhm.
Like, yeah. So I mean, I think that we're getting to to that summit where we can start talking about. Uh,
There's some meat here too. So there's some meat here too in the rating. So
so what do you think, Kimmy? Since you're so keen on figuring out,
Okay.
what's your rating?
speak from the heart.
8.9. 8.9.
No, we do
Oh, you got
fives.
Five.
Oh, you guys are so annoying.
So that's
There's
like,
no
what?
half
Think you're
stars.
So that's
annoying.
4.445.
4.445 stars.
Sure. Yeah. All right.
All right, we'll allow it.
Honestly, we're going out of 5. Yeah. 4.6, 4.7, something like that. I would think. I would say it was a really good movie. I love alien themes. Having seen so many things that have played on this film before, I honestly thought that this film, for how old it is, would have been worse. Like I said, in
Mhm.
terms of production quality, in
Oh,
terms
yeah.
of writing, acting, um, dialogue, everything. I really thought it would have been worse, and it definitely shone despite of that. So yeah,
And what were the niggles that kept it from being a 5 then,
Great question.
considering it was so close?
I laughed when the alien jumped out of the belly. Like laughed. Like you guys heard me. I was cackling like a witch. It was hilarious to me.
For context, Kimmy said it was because it looked like he bowed to everybody when
It
he came
did.
out.
He like popped out of the belly, and he was. It's almost as if he had a back leg, he would have curtsied.
Yeah,
to
if he
the
had like a little top
audience.
hat, he would have most certainly tipped
Ta-da!
it. Mhm.
And for me, it was very funny. And then he the way he ran away was almost very like 1920s.
That
like,
was That was very comical. Yeah.
The whole
Yeah.
reason for the creature's murder spree is because they laughed at his magic trick.
Oh my goodness. It's just
You know,
resentful.
Everybody was just
Oh,
screaming,
no.
and then they booed me off stage,
Honestly,
and
that is probably like the biggest thing that keeps it from being like a 5 out of 5, a 10 out of 10. Just I watched it too late in my life. But to be honest with you guys, if I had watched it too early, I would have been too afraid of it.
Well
So,
said.
you know,
Very nice.
Right.
good film.
Jose.
Sigourney Weaver, also very attractive with her curly hair. I think it's just the hair, but whatever.
Great actress.
Wonderful.
Small butt.
What
Great
about you,
actress.
Hannah?
Small butt. Great actress.
Are we bouncing it back to me?
Mhm.
I mean, for me, this movie is a 5 out of 5. There's probably a lot of things that I could nitpick about it, but I just think it was the first of its kind, so it's hard to be too picky. It's a cult classic. It holds up after all of these years. There's still just really not quite, for me, a movie like it. And it's a really great sci-fi horror. It really is, in my opinion. I don't really have any complaints.
Jose?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with a 5 out of 5, just because of the fact that it's so foundational to everything else. Like I said, it's like the movie was so high quality that it actually sucked quality out of other things that have used it before. Now that it seems so obvious that this movie was oozing so much quality that things were just like sucking it up to like, you know what I mean? Because it was
Relatable because people understand it having seen Alien.
Yep,
Mhm.
exactly. Like there's like even with the little cons that we were talking about. I mean, at this point, they just seem more fun than anything to me,
Mhm.
because
Yeah.
if the movie was like so, airtight and sealed in terms of its in terms of its lore, they wouldn't have anywhere to go with it. And honestly, I would rather have a movie that I can continue, thinking about even like without having to like fall into like, oh, that's a plot hole. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
well, there's really nothing else I could ask for from a movie, especially one like this one. Especially because, I mean, I don't know if if my sensibilities are just messed up because of the fact of its age and all the things I've already seen, right? But I didn't consider the movie scary at any point in time.
Mhm.
I know Hannah just called it a sci-fi horror, and I was like, is it a horror?
It
It's a
was.
long-term conversation Hannah and I are having about my own personal ideas on what horror is. But yeah, I
Just-
would never consider this to be a horror film.
It
I
was
think the reason that
very
it,
thrilling,
yeah.
Mm.
Sure, it's a sci-fi. It's a sci-fi movie.
I mean, I would
but
call
not all
it a
sci-fi
monster
are
movie.
thrillers.
Monster movie. Fair enough with monster movie. Yes.
Monster movie almost automatically gets horror title, even if it's not a horror. If it's got a
Yeah.
monster, it's like
Yeah, I mean, it falls under the
Classified.
umbrella of horror, right? Because I mean, a monster is
Mm.
synonymous with being scary in
Yeah.
some way, right? So
And
it's
it
like,
is Lovecraftian.
it is quite a bit. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
yeah, yeah. I mean, if there's any horror, it really does come from the concept of like the society that would allow this level of like what callousness, you know what I mean, toward like
Mhm.
employees and like deep sea exploration and everything like that. Like, okay, like
Corporate
this is
empowerment.
yeah,
Mhm.
like this is a corporate horror to a particular
Mhm.
degree
Yeah.
because it showcases the fact that people are so bound up by the contracts and like the social contracts and like like the company contracts that they're under, right? That they're pretty much become almost half automaton in that way. Like even though they have a android that will do that all the way through, you know what I mean? Everybody else, and I think it's because of the fact that the company bothered to like implement military regimentation into like their like private enterprise. You know what I mean? That you
Mhm.
have that like intersection of being like, yeah, these guys are employees, but at the same time they're kind of soldiers at the same, at the
Mhm.
same time.
So interesting and like wonderfully insightful for a movie from like 1979 because me and Jose right now are replaying Mass Effect. And, in a game like that, corporations and, not too different from how things are today, like corporations are their own entity and their own being and they make decisions on their own like that. And like as a company, as like space exploration, if anyone's watched The Expanse, do it if you haven't. It's a wonderful show.
Mhm. Yeah.
It's a very interesting concept for 1979.
It
Mhm.
doesn't take much to find a tucked away asteroid where no one's going to find your med lab for you to be able to start doing crazy shit on people. And this environment and setting is already not too far off from it whatsoever, And again, it being a foundational aspect of sci-fi corporate horror, it's it's fucking great.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I jump on the.
Like 1970s,
original one?
early 1970s.
I think the early one was in the
Yeah,
60s,
because
wasn't
for
it?
sure Battlestar was out before this.
I think so.
So like
It looked a lot worse, so it must have been right.
Yeah,
The original.
but
Well, the set was great for
Hmm.
Battlestar.
yeah, but what did Battlestar Galactica have to do with this particular kind of thing, though?
well, I just
Yeah.
didn't like this idea of like,
Corporate horror.
thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
If that's what we're calling it, yeah. Yeah, maybe.
I don't see it. I mean,
A little more
Battlestar Galactica had anything
race-based.
to do with corporations. It was all like literal Earth Alliance and like the last flotillas after,
Mm.
But I don't know. I mean, like,
Well, I have not played Mass Effect or watched The Expanse, and I know we just lost half our listeners.
yeah, holy
but
shit.
sorry.
Yeah, I'm leaving.
Don't leave. I can't
So it's been a great episode of the Lethal. I'm gonna jump on the 5.5 bandwagon along with you guys. This is it's timeless, classic, perfectly paced movie.
Yeah, I mean, whatever niggle that I might want to give it, I feel like an asshole for wanting to bring it up because I mean,
Right.
it just like the movie just does such a great job.
Only assholes would give this fewer than 5 stars.
Clearly, we've weeded out the chaff
My
on
last
this.
time
It would
ever
be a
hearing
sin.
about introspection.
She doesn't. Yeah, she doesn't hold the line. She doesn't.
Yeah.
Well, this until we watch
She doesn't toe the
Aliens.
line.
Stay tuned next episode where Jose introduces his next wife.
Yeah.
We call her Kimmy
She'll
too.
be super annoying with this voice.
I'm committed to calling her Kim too if it does happen.
What's your name? Shut up. It's Kim too. You're Kim too.
Yeah.
New Kim.
My name's Carol. No, it's Cheryl.
Fantastic. Well, I'm glad we got you to, or I'm glad you picked this movie to watch, actually. Like, there's no coincidence that it's one of the movie posters that remains in our bedroom and not in the basement here, among the Evil Dead, Men in Black, and all the rest of these. But this series, I was just excited when you mentioned it because this whole series is ripe for introspection, especially the following films and the lore that they provide. So good on you for the pick, man.
Awesome. I'm really, really
Wonderful
glad.
job. And I'm excited for the rest of them. Very excited.
Yeah, because then we'll be allowed to talk more about mapping. Like, stop talking. This is
Stop
about the rest
asking
of the-
questions.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, wonderful. Well, then I guess we're gonna log off. Good day and good night.
Good
Good night.
night. Sorry.
Bye.